Well, now we are.
Okay. So, this class is just going to be me just trying to combine everything we've learned. I might do something new, okay? But when I do that, I will explain. But it's mostly going to be everything we've learned over the course of 4 weeks. I mean, 4 weeks just went by so fast like that. That's how it could be. That's how it can be when you're actually in the zone. You know, people who are creative people, when they get into that zone of creativity, time just flies like that. And, you know, a month can just look like a few days. So what you see me doing here, I had to do a demo recording with my voice, just a mini voiceover to show you how you could work with voiceovers, importing recorded voiceovers, more like the voice presenting and talking about maybe the project. And this will be done by you just maybe coming up with a script given to someone who can do voiceovers. And they just do your voiceover for you. You get the audio, you import into After Effects, and then you create your video with the voice as the guide. All right, so your video would follow the voice. The animation would follow the voiceover. The Lekki Peninsula Project is a project that spans about 30 hectares of land. On the left side, we would have the bar, the tennis court, and the recreational centers, while on the right, we would have the residential buildings. We'll have a road leading to these two sessions. The Lekki Peninsula Project. Okay. Kindly indicate if you can hear the voice. Maybe by typing one in the chat or just saying yes in the chat. If you heard that voice over, kindly type yes or one. So I'll be sure that you could pick sound from my presentation. Okay. All right, so I just did this random recording. This is not I mean, Adobe Audition is not part of class, but just a sneak peek. So how you edit voices, mostly you work with effects. On the left side, we would have the something like that. Oh, this is compression, analyze. Hmm. And cinema slurring. See this. Okay, you can save as a WAV file or MP3. Right, we have the different formats you could MP3. See. Okay. So I'm done with this. Go to After Effects and double click, import the voice. This is the MP3 port. Drag and drop. We have the voice.
The Lekki Peninsula Project is a project that spans about 30 hectares of land.
Okay, so if I have my drone shots or I have my JPEG image, I could combine image and the footage. So let's say I mean, you could, if you have your image for the maybe sky view or any kind of you could use the, say, Lagos map. Okay, let me just screenshot any area here. I mean, this can be done with any kind of map, like you already know. So I'll just screenshot this. I don't need to go the long process of downloading. And this is what I'm going to use. Can you screenshot? You could work with Adobe Illustrator. Just paste what you screenshotted into Adobe Illustrator or any photo editing app. You can paste it in Photoshop and then save it out. So what I'm basically doing is I'm just working on a project before your eyes to see how the whole process can be. It's in 2020. Take off all this. Just need one. Artboard. Layers, Control V. And that's the map. Okay, scan that out. So let's say from here, create a new layer and then map out the area that we'll be working on. Let's say this whole area, just want to draw a shape around here. We cut from this road. Get to this point. So I can do this inside of After Effects if I want, but it's easier for me to do it in Adobe Illustrator and just import into After Effects, animate So I have this mapping here just to what do you call it, area selection, right? Give that shape a color, maybe color green. Okay, drop the opacity a bit, maybe to like 60, so you could see the area. I can be very much more detailed with my, tracing. Okay, so I'll leave it at that. And I can save this file, save as. So let's call this Peninsula mapping. Okay. And then we're done with that. Double click in After Effects, import, select composition, retain layer size, import as composition, retain layer size, because I have 2 layers there, so I need to import them separately. So there you have it. Bring that in, drag and drop, and I have it there. You see above here, there's transparency. Okay. So turn it off, turns black. So whether it's black or whether it's transparent, it's still transparent. So right click here to create a new solid as the background. Just make it white. Okay, drag it underneath. So it just blocks off that. All right, so inside of this space, I have this, try a transform mode, that's like multiply. Okay, just to give it a different effect. You see the difference? Multiply. So it has a different effect. It's further. So I like to listen to the voice. And how do I start this? I could decide to do a new solid, like a review layer, make it black. So this would open the shot for me. So opacity from 100 to 0. Okay, so the shot can open like that.
The Lekki Peninsula Project.
Okay.
The Lekki Peninsula.
Now, this shot's opening, I want to be able to move the camera to where that area is selected. That is this spot. Okay. So this is like creative choice. Everybody has different creative choice. You can decide to do whatever you want here. You could leave it static like this, but it's not advisable that you leave your shots static. Always keep it moving. All right, so what I can do here is create a null object, new null object. By the way, I can right click here and choose new like you already know. So I have this null object here. Scale it up. I held down my shift to scale it up from here. So when you don't hold down shift, it takes different forms. But if you hold down your shift, it goes down and up equally. I want to see it large enough so that I can easily select and drag around. All right, so I'm attaching this and okay, just this for now. Attaching this to the null object. Okay. Null object. When I move it around, this moves. Okay. So I'll scale the null object up. So from this position, hold my shift and hit P just to bring out the position as well. So this comes up. Listen to the voice.
The Lekki Peninsula Project is a project that spans about 38.
Okay, so this. So by the way, I'm going to stop here because I don't want to have holes here. So maybe the map, whatever map you'll be working with, might also have some extra shots. Okay, you can do that. You know, and it's always advisable you center your shots like this. So if I want to update this map, for example, to give it extra, you know, parts here, how do I do that? I'll go back to this map. This is where I took the shots from. And I know if I drag sideways like this, I'll get more shots. So I can just screen grab these extra areas here. And then go to my Illustrator. Now, on the same layer where you have the map, and just place the map there. Scale it up. Try to find the matching, which would be around here. Okay, so I'm going to use this. Okay. I'll try not to be too perfect. I don't become a perfectionist here. But you spend more time to get this accurately. So you see I have more shots. Now, the challenge would be the size of this composition. So what I'll do is go to my artboard here, increase the size of the artboard. The width, maybe I'll make this maybe 3000. Let's see. Practice. I use the artboard tool to drag the artboard manually. That is the artboard tool to stretch the artboard manually as you want. Back to the layer. I'll just save this to update. Now, I'm not sure if this might disrupt stuff inside of After Effects. Okay. It most likely will. Okay, so that's the disruption. So when I come into After Effects, I know things have been disrupted. I just need to do some rearrangements. That's why it's advisable before you start your animation, you decide exactly what to do before you start. Because when you skip any stage, your creative briefing stage, your storyboarding stage, your screenplay stage and all that, when you would have to go back, lots of corrections that you have to actually, just one correction can take you back like 5 steps backward, right? So here I have to just go to composition, settings, and also change this to same 3000. Let's say 3100, the width. Make sure this lock aspect ratio is not selected. So we only have that increase, and then this one will find where it's supposed to be. I think it should be somewhere around here. Okay. Okay, have that sorted. Come back here. Then we'll have to redo our animation.
The Lekki Peninsula Project is a project.
Okay, at this point, maybe I want to zoom out a little bit more. Try to save area. I always like to switch that on. Edit my calls, call graph editor. So I can edit that.
The Lekki Peninsula Project.
So this is what we call RAM preview render. When the grain is done, then you can watch normally.
The Lekki Peninsula Project is a project that spans about
blah, 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 blah. I think it starts from here. So we'll keep our time indicator here. Now, because this particular composition starts from the beginning of this landscape project, when I double click and enter into the peninsula mapping, or I just click peninsula mapping, the time indicator is exactly the same timer, which is above 5 seconds. Okay, come here to, it's the same thing, above 5 seconds. But the timing will be different when you move this left or right like that. So in case you do that, the best way to mark things is to use your markers. So let's say from here.
The project that spans about 38.
So this is where we had 30 from.
38.
From here.
38.
Okay. So you can drag this comp marker just at the right edge of the timeline. Drag it out. Hold down Shift to snap it. So that's a time marker. When you double click and go into that particular comp, it will appear on a different time. That is, if you move this comp left and right, like I showed you. Maybe you moved it towards the right, down the timeline here. So when you double click, it will appear on a different time here. Then you can also use a marker to mark here. So you know that this is 1, which represents 1 outside here. That's how to actually track a time. So if you want your voice and your animation to be accurate, you would want to, deploy the use of these markers. Okay, so at this stage, this is where I want the green to appear. So I'm going to take this down this way. Use my opacity from 0 to 100. Okay. I want to do something very interesting here. I want to draw a shape around this. 1, 2, 3, just to give it a nice animation feel that's more appealing to the eye. So I want this shape I'm drawing to animate around the selected area. Okay, I cut that down using my alt open brackets, which is beside letter P on the keyboard. So cut this down, go down to content, just to curve the area, go down to stroke, round cap, round join. Okay, I reduce the size of the stroke. Give it like a very bright color, maybe red or even white. Let me see how white look like. Or maybe even ash color. Let's see. Okay. All right. I'll make use of the some dash. Okay. And I would animate the offset for the dash from 0. Animate the offset to go this way. All right. Take it further. So when it appears, it goes like this. Okay. Now, I also want to add trim path. Add trim path. I want to animate the start to finish. Okay, so from 100. I mean, you would have to play with these numbers to see which one reacts the way you really want. So $100 to 0. Okay. See, maybe this would animate out first before it starts to Okay, so while doing this, I just saw like this effect. And I don't like how it shakes when it's animating out. So how do I control that? There are different ways, popping up in my head. But let me just use the easiest approach. I could just easily duplicate this, Control D, right? And at this point, for this particular duplicate, I'll take away the dash effect. I mean, I can decide to control how this offset moves before it finishes animating. But I mean, for this one, I'll just take off the dash effect. So there's no dash effect for this one. And then it just animates out like that. Then I'll use transparency to turn it off. So the one beneath would reveal itself. Okay. Alt close brackets to cut that short. And then you have something like this. Okay. So this is just covering the Ojoro we did on that. So if I turn this eye off, you see. Okay. So these are ways you can cover. This is the fastest way you can bypass the whatever you did. Now, by the way, when you convert your keyframes to ease in, ease out, hitting F9, to convert it back, you select the two keyframes and hold down Control on your keyboard. Okay, then you click on the keyframes to convert back to the diamond shape. Now, there's another shape like a circular shape that gives a different effects of motion. So you can try it out and see how it feels like. So this is what I want. Save this. Control S is your best friend. Always save to prevent crash. Okay, so this is what I want. When this plays out, gets to this point, and then animates. Okay, so we'll go back to our main composition, which is the landscape project.
The Lekki Peninsula project is a project that spans about 30 hectares of land.
Okay,
The Lekki Peninsula project is a project that spans about 30 hectares of land.
so here can decide to put a text saying 30. So After Effects starts to see what's going on. After Effects is misbehaving. Those are the things we're talking about. Sometimes you just get that misbehaving. I guess it's about to crash. I don't know. But let's just watch it. See my mouse rolling in blue. I can't really see what's going on, but I suspect it's about to crash. Oh.
Good thing you saved a couple of minutes ago.
I mean, sometimes this thing happens for multiple reasons that you might not be able to even pinpoint. Most times it happens when the project is heavy. Sometimes it happens when your Windows have some updates and the updates are being installed, or maybe a driver is being updated, something, right? Something must always occur to, to cause this to happen. So that's why it's always good to save, save, save. So most probably will end this process. I'll just I click end task. So I'll open that again. Luckily, we saved our last move. So we're not too far back. We're not too far back.
It's about 30 hectares of land.
Okay. Now, if this happens to you, if you have your autosave turned on, I showed you how to turn on the autosave. Most times it's already on by default. Go to your edits on your menu, preferences, and you check for so it's written autosave here. Your autosave options come up. You say save every 10 minutes. So I save every 10 minutes. I save maximum of 4 different files. So what this means is you have 4 different versions, different times. So I say okay. Now if you go to the folder you're working with, right? And then you find where your After Effects, where do we have our After Effects? So this is our sample project we're working with. So wherever you find your After Effects file, just look within that same folder, you see sample project AME. Okay, you open it, see the autosave. This is an autosave. Sorry. Okay, Adobe Media Encoder. Sorry, this is the autosave here. After Effects autosave. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 different files saved, and then you see them in chronological order. So this was the 28th file, 29th, 30th, 31st file. So when the 32nd file comes, the 28th will be deleted. You have 29, 30, 31, 32. When 33 comes, 29 will go. It will be 30, 31, 32, 33, like four files every time to delete the old one. And then you see the time update, 9:07, 9, 7, 14, 7:30, 7:40. You see the dates. This was on Tuesday, 25th. This is 27th today. Okay, so we have 3 files saved today. If we have the next auto save file, this one will disappear. So it depends on you. You might want to revisit maybe previous files. You can decide to set this up to 10 autosave files or 20 as your choice, but it's just memory space. Just keep occupying different memory space. All right, so that's it. Let's get back to work. So here I said I wanted to do this and then type in a text. Yeah, the record is on. Okay. Let's give it make it white or black or even ash. Okay, make sure you use high contrast colors for your foreground. Then for the background, you use less contrast. So if you're using white for the background, make sure you're using darker colors for the foreground. If you're using dark color for the background, you use brighter colors for the foreground. So foreground objects are like objects that you want to pop. You want the audience to be able to see. So that's why we're typing this in hash color or dark color, dark red, you know. You're going to stick to a particular color palette. Maybe if we use the same gold color for the bridges, something, you know, you can always use your color picker as well to pick colors. Okay. Color picker and pick any color. So remember, there was a project we did where we made the background darker. Okay, something like this. Yes, this one. So that we could make the red pop. So you could apply the same principle here, or the same direction. You can make the background dark and then use a brighter color for the foreground objects, which are the line, the text, and the green highlight. So, okay. I want to change my font to a different font. So that's where the trouble started. So let's just I really don't know what's going on. I'll just be patient a bit. So what I'm trying to do was I'm trying to type in the font that I want, which is the Montserrat, M-O-N-T. When I type M-O-N, then I type in the T, it starts to act up like this. So I don't know if there's a problem with that font or it's just After Effects just wanting to misbehave. I mean, I really don't know what's going on. So this is quite very weird. Just not to waste time, I have to end this and then use a different font. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I want to have this line animate out. Go down to my shape, my stroke, round up, round join. Reduce the size 10. Make the color. Can use color picker here to pick this ash color. Okay. So how do we do that? Go to add trim path again. Trim path do. Okay. So this time around it's backwards. That works. Okay, from end to here 100. Okay.
8 hectares of land.
Now this text needs to come out when this appears like this.
Hectares of land.
The text. Okay, I want this to come after the line completes itself or almost completes itself. So from here, I'll use my positioning and my opacity. Position, opacity as the final position. So, but I want this final position to be front. So I'll select the keyframes, drag forward. Bring this down. Turn this to 0, opacity to 0. Ease in, ease out. Okay. Tweak my graph.
Of land.
Drag this further to make it
30 hectares of land.
okay. This is half.
30 hectares of land. On the
Okay.
30 hectares of land. Hectares of land.
All right, so let's play this from the beginning and see how it looks like.
The Lekki Peninsula Project is a project that spans about 30 hectares of land. On the
Okay, so bring this backward so it starts
The Lekki
sooner.
Peninsula Project is a project that spans about 30 hectares of land.
Okay, so we have that done.
The left side.
The next thing we want to do is maybe you can continue, just depends on your choice. But for me, what I want to do is I want to convert this to, continue with a video to show, the projects. Let's just assume that's a 3D or a drone shot.
Spans about 30 hectares of land.
So I can get the video, drone shots. So opacity, I want it to just fade in slowly.
We would have.
So there's a sound that comes with this video. I can turn up the sound from here. And then
We would have the bar.
okay, let's say this is an empty land or even a 3D shot. I'm going to use this to so here I want to draw. Let's assume this is going to be the bar, this left side. Okay. Can decide to just draw a shape around this. I mean, if we imagine this to be an empty land, then we'll just have to draw maybe a rectangle or a square. Okay. So doesn't really matter. It just depends on what you're doing at the time. I'm going to use motion tracking for this. Create a new null object as usual. Take it above layers, then select the video, animation, motion track, track motion. So you look for a high contrast area. So somewhere around here. Okay, when you map out the area properly, and you can say position and scale. So let's try position and scale. For the scale, you have a second track that will appear. So for that, we want to take another high contrast area so that when this object moves, oh, okay, let's try a different building. Let's see how it works out. We want to be able to track the sizes, the size variation between track point 1 and track point 2. Okay. So I'll use that to track the size. So positioning and size scale. So let's try and see what that gives us. Now, when this video goes out of screen, when this part goes out of screen, it becomes a challenge. So you can always stop anytime, right? So this is what we have. Okay. Now, edit target, null 5. That's null 5. Okay. Apply. So you have that applied to null 5. Next thing you want to do, if you check for null objects, for the position and for the scale, we already have keyframes switched on automatically because of the motion track transferred to the null object. Okay, so the next thing to do is to take the peak whip, drag to null object. Then
the bar, the tennis court, and
we see how that goes. It might not be perfect because of certain things. So you can decide to correct certain things. So for example, you see how this is leaving the building. I mean, this is if I decide to go into correcting this now, that would be too detailed, right? But I can do that. It's quite very simple. All you just need to do is find where the position starts to shift and then go to the object itself, position. Okay. You can do position, drag the position up so that it goes like,
the bar, the tennis court.
okay, it corrects itself. Now, that's one way. Another way is to like do a form of rotoscoping. Rotoscoping is a more advanced approach to keeping track of shape of objects in a video. Okay. It's mostly used for movies where you need to track the shape of a character, you know, or an actor so that you can prop him out and then add some trees behind him, you know, and all that. That would require you going into the content, the path, and then you have to animate each point. So for example, you could just select this path and then you switch on the keyframe for the path. When it gets to this point, you want this particular point to move this way. You want this one to move that way. You know, just give you an example, random example. You want this one to move that way. So what you see is as time goes, you start seeing the points moving the way you want them to move. Okay, can you see that? You can use this to actually transform a square into a circle, into a rectangle, you know, and all that. So that's animating parts, but we're not going there. You can try that out yourself, see how it works out for you. So use my opacity here, fade in and fade out. I want this to fade in
The bar,
and then fade out. Zero. So we have
the bar, the tennis.
okay. So this fades out here.
The Lekki Peninsula Project is a project that spans about 30 hectares of land. On the left side, we would have the bar,
So we say the bar here, right? This bar, you could decide to use our normal motion tracking here as well. Um, Now I want to reuse this text and this shape layer. So I'll just select both of them and then hit my Control D on my keyboard to duplicate, then drag them up. Okay. I want to reuse them, so I don't need to recreate them again. Okay. Make this white. Make the shape stroke white. Reposition. So when you're trying to reposition, something important to note, we have a position keyframe for the text. Now, if you just select the two layers and then drag, can you see what's happening to the keyframe? Extra keyframe will add, and that's what you see here. So how to prevent that? If you want to move any object that has animation on it already, you make sure you select the objects, that is the layers themselves, holding down Shift on your keyboard, select the keyframes as well. So you notice as keyframes. So if I move like this, it moves everything, including the keyframes, without any challenge. Okay, so I'll move that here. Let's say to this point. I'll select only this one, bring it down to this point. Then select both of them and apply it to the null object. Drag the pick with null object. Okay.
The bar, the tennis.
Okay, so this stuff moves and scales up. You notice the size of the 38 task increases. Okay. It's smaller here, becomes bigger. I don't know if you noticed that, but it's bigger when it comes further. Okay. Smaller from here. It's bigger here. Okay, you notice the difference? It might be very subtle, but it's bigger. So that's what motion tracking with scale does.
The bar, the tennis.
So here, change this to the bar.
The bar, the tennis court.
You can see the bar, tennis courts, we can select, create another shape from here. So the bar, this one fades out as well. Select the T opacity, switch this on, and then fill it out. Both of them. All right.
We would have the bar, the tennis court.
The tennis court starts from here. So we want this to quickly fade in and fade out immediately. We want this animation to be quicker. So we're positioning, animating out, we want the fade out to be quicker because of the voiceover. Okay, so let's see.
The bar, the tennis court.
Okay, that fades out at least decently on time. While we are doing all these things, we want to keep in mind, keeping our timeline very neat, not too scattered. So I always cut down whatever is no longer in use on screen. I always cut it off. All right, I always cut it short. So that keeps my timeline very neat. Now, this can continue and stack up to multiple layers. Now we have just 12 layers here, 1 to 12. This can stack up to, hundreds of layers, depending on the size of your project. It can stack up to 50, 30, 100. And then you would have to like increase the size of your timeline so you can scroll up and down. We still have space at the bottom here, right? But when you have more layers, when you start scrolling up and down, you start seeing your layers scroll up and down. So what if you don't have your layers cut short like this, you wouldn't know what is revealing what. Because you might get to a point where you have all the layers stretched out. It's going to be very confusing for you, right? So when you cut layers short, you would know on what timeline. So if I put my timer here, for example, I can easily say this is what I see on my screen, these two layers, because there's no other layer above them, okay? But imagine that I have these three stretched out like this. I can't really say if this is what's revealed on my screen or this or this or this other two until I start to click and try to find, okay? So that's very important to note when you're working. Always cut so that you know what is revealing on screen at a particular time. So when the video comes in, I know this is where the video starts and then fades in like that. I know that's the video. And then I know whatever is showing on screen, I know exactly the session where they are located. I will select this square area. Okay. Make this maybe green. Okay. See, opacity reduced to 0. Reviews. Okay, so at this stage, I want to connect this to the null object. Now remember that our animation for the null object stops here. So be aware of that because of where we actually selected for our tracking. Now you could decide to track from buildings at the back here, maybe for a different null object or for even this null object, it will still work. Okay. So if we exhaust this resource here for this null object, we'll have to create a new null object that will track from the buildings behind. Okay, I need to place this shape properly around here. And then pick whip to null object. And then it will follow.
And
okay, so this is where it begins to cut off from here because the null object, couldn't follow this building, right? It stopped here. you can see the null object, this red square stops, and then the building keeps moving. So I think this is where our resource would stop. Most like, let me just delete all these other keyframes here because they're not useful anymore. Opacity down to 0. Okay. Cut it short. Position. All these things to remain in position. So P at this stage, still want it to be up here. So it goes like this.
The tennis court and the tennis court.
Now I'm just using outline. You can decide to use fill if you want. You know how to create that already. So if you select, you can choose a color. Okay, and if you use it up, that's it, green. You could use a transform mode, maybe overlay, to change the color of the building.
Have the bar, the tennis court.
Okay, see how it changes the color of the building? Just to indicate. So there are different ways you could do this. Different ways. We can't really explore all the ways, but all the tools you already have
the bar,
taught.
the tennis.
You know, could do it however you want. Maybe I'll convert this as well. Fill, green, transform mode, overlay. Okay.
The tennis court.
You could use red, you could use any other color.
The tennis court.
I want to reuse this again. The text and the shape layer. Ctrl D, duplicate, drag to the top of this one. Okay. Comes in like that. Okay, so I need to reposition this. Hold down my shift, select the keyframes so that I can move everything together to this point. Okay, rename this tennis court.
The tennis court, and have the bar, the tennis court, and the Lekki Peninsula project is a project that spans about 30 hectares of land. On the left side, we would have the bar, the tennis court, and the recreational.
And the blah, 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 blah. I can add more here if I want. Okay, so I'll just stop at that. So I don't, I mean, it's just basically the same thing. So the way I did this here, duplicated this, brought it further. Okay, I could drag the null object above so that visually I would know that the null object is like above this, okay? so that when I'm done with the null object and everything it controls, the next layers I'll be creating will be above the null object. So these are just visual aids, like it helps your brain to be able to track, where what is, whatever, where stuffs are being located on your timeline. So this particular video now, I can decide to duplicate the video. So I start from this side again, and then, do the same. Bring this here. And then use the opacity reveal that again.
Centers. While on the right.
Now, while on the right, you see the video started again from the beginning. I can cut. So where the opacity reveals the new video, from here, this is where the opacity, this is where it reveals the new video to 100%. So from there or anywhere above that, I can cut the video underneath. Because if you leave that video there, it will add to the render time to just make your rendering very slow, and you wonder why. Because there are layers underneath there that are useless, not useful, just contributing to render time there. You can't see them, but the software
the
will see them.
Centers. While on the right. Recreational centers. While on the right.
While on the right, there would be.
We would have the residential buildings.
Now, however you want to represent this, you can use the same way to map it out. Use your shape layer, draw out whatever you need to draw out, use your text and all that. Then finally,
the residential buildings will have a road leading to these two sessions.
Okay, so this center road, for example, leading to the two sessions, you can decide to pause the video here, or use this same effects, that we did. Okay, I think we did this on Tuesday, showing the road, how we drew it, right, to show the road. I don't want to repeat that again. Just revisit that video. You could use that to trace this road. Okay, you will see how to actually pause videos and do that. Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about is how to export your videos.
The Lekki Peninsula project is a project that spans about 30 hectares of land. On the left side, we would have the bar, the tennis court, and the recreational centers.
Okay. Let me take this video away. Just deleted that one. So let's say you want to come back to your map. You want to return back to your map, previous map, which is this peninsula map, right? You can always, we're done with controlling null objects, shorten that. The video, we have a null object here. Okay, that null object controls this map. Okay, so from here, we do opacity, fade the video out. When we fade that video out, it reveals what is underneath the video, which is this peninsula mapping. That's what you see. That way is maybe you have a new image, you could put that new image above and then review that image. But for now, we're still working with this peninsula map. So we just take the opacity off. the video which is above that map, and then continue from where we stopped. Okay, so the effects we created is still on this. Would have to turn it off when this is showing. So at this stage, it's no longer visible. So we'll go into that comp to turn it off. Maybe just cut it short, right? Cut this short. This one, cut it short. Okay, so it's no longer visible. And we come back here. By the time this video finishes, we'll no longer see that when it comes back. But if I decide to turn off this eye, we'll see where we cut the thing off, okay, to show. But because this video is above it, that won't be noticed. We will come back here and then continue our animation using our null object, control the map, scale down to zoom out, position, okay, to anywhere else within that map.
While on the right, we would have the residential buildings. On the right, we would have the residential buildings. While on the right, we would have the residential.
Try to draw shape, let's see, the right side, residential buildings, let's say this is the right side. I'm just assuming. So I'll just draw any shape. Okay. So this, I will pick whip to this null object. So the null object controls the scale of that. Okay. Transfer mode, overlay. It's not working like I want. Multiply. Let's see, maybe if I drop the opacity to like 70 and then use overlay. That's still not working for what I want. So I'll just leave it at multiply. Then animate the opacity from 0 to 70.
Have the resident. Court and the recreational centers. While on the right, we would have the residential buildings.
So the same thing we have here, 30 hectares. We could duplicate this and then use that same text here, change the name of the text, you know, and all that. So that's basically it. Let me just do this so that we can render take this up here, drag up, then move down here. Okay. Position, select keyframe. I hold down my shift to select the keyframe, as well as the layers are also selected. You can see both layers are selected. And also I held down my shift to select the two keyframes. So I could drag using my keyframe. That's it. That is this anchor point for the position. That's what I'm using to drag. Okay.
Have the residential buildings. We'll have a road leading to these two sessions.
So we'll talk about the road leading to 2 sessions. You already know how to do that. So just not to waste time. Time is fast spent. You can just use our normal, this form of, showing the road if you like, or you use this other form, okay, to show the road, okay, and all that. So at this stage, I will cut this from 25 seconds. Okay, that might affect the voiceover. So at 25 seconds, remember B and N. B means beginning, N means end. So when I hit my N on my keyboard, it reduces my comp to the work area. Okay, right, click on it and say trim composition to work area. And then you have your work ready for export. Okay, you can import music. When you import the music, you can control the volume of the music by keyframes as well. So let's say this voice here, if you drop down, I mean, every audio or any file that has audio, in it will always show the speaker sign here. Audio, waveform. This is the waveform. So you can use keyframes, add keyframe, maybe come further, drop the voice or drop the music. Can you see the waveform? You can even increase it. Okay. Drag left and right. Okay. Now, we also have a bar here, audio panel. Now, this audio panel can only take you down to -12. It doesn't go below -12. It doesn't go above +12 in terms of the height and the low. It doesn't take you beyond that. -12 +12. Middle is 0. 0 is the normal volume. Okay. You can raise the volume. You can drop the volume. But if you come down to the timeline here, you can drag this below -12. Now, when you do that, these controls you see here will disappear because it will go below -12. So if I drag this to say -36, you can drag it to as far as you want, right? So let's say minus 21 or 14. You can see -14 is here as well, but we can't see the controls. So if I click here again, then it brings it up. So that's how you control the volume of your music. You can import your music and drop the volume here. I mean, if you drop the volume of your music to like maybe -8, that's fair enough. And your voice is, you know, talking over the music. That's fair enough. I delete this keyframes. I don't want that. Okay. What else? What else? Audio level, push up and down. Okay, so that's basically how to control the volume of your audio and also adding keyframes. Sometimes you might come across a situation where when the voice wants to talk, you need to lower the volume of the music. And then after the voices are done, you want to raise the volume of the music again. You know, you can use keyframes to control that. You can use keyframes to control that. So you drop the volume. When the volume needs to rise again after the voice is done, you create a new keyframe to mark the previous volume, which is low, and then move further like 2 frames or 3 frames, raise the volume up. And then, you know, that's just how it works. So to render this video, there are 2 ways, but I'll show you both ways, but I'll show you I'll explain the pros and cons, right? Basically, you use your shortcut Control M. When you hit Control M, you have a panel open here, render queue. So this is where you add your videos for render. This was the previous one I rendered. I have to select and hit my delete, so I delete that. This one is marked already. I can uncheck it or I check it. When I check it, it's ready to be exported. Okay. So from inside of After Effects, you can export. Or better way is to queue it in Adobe Media Encoder. So I'm sure you have it installed. This is the Adobe Media Encoder app, right? When you hit Q in Adobe Media Encoder, you have more controls. You know, you have more settings to work with. But here you just have only 3 settings, right? Your output, what are you outputting to? .avi, that's a heavy file. You want to output, find where you will save your project. Okay. Let's just create a new folder and say render folder. And then say landscape. Now we can't choose any formats from here. It's on .avi by default. So let's just save that. So our render would save inside of this particular folder called render. The next thing we want to do is output mode. This is where you want to change the format of your video to, you know, the previous versions of After Effects usually come with H.264, which is basically your normal MP4, H.264. Now you have to install QuickTime. When you install QuickTime, you can select QuickTime, but QuickTime files are heavy, right? QuickTime files are heavy. But when you select QuickTime, you want to okay, this audio output, render settings. When you select QuickTime, video outputs, let's see, format options, okay, animation. You want to make use of the Apple ProRes 444. Okay, Apple ProRes 444. And that should okay, GoPro Cinephone. I think they changed a few things here. But anyways, all these formats you see here, they are very heavy. So when you want to render maybe a 10 seconds video, you start to see something like 1 gig. That's crazy. You know, that's why it's not advisable to render from After Effects nowadays, unlike before, where we had the H.264 format. I don't know why they removed it from After Effects from recent uh software versions. So they took that off. This GoPro Cinephone gives us the option of choosing the quality, 3, 4, 5, you could drop it. I mean, I don't render with this interface. I'm just showing you how to do the render if you want to, right? That's the disadvantage of rendering from this interface. Okay, that's the disadvantage. But I'll just say okay for now. Render settings. Under the render settings, you most probably wouldn't touch any of this because everything is already on default. Quality, best quality, resolution, full resolution. The size is 1920 by 1080. If you select half, it will give you half of the video. Just leave everything how Please, Mr. Ayode, keep your mic muted, except you have a question. Okay. So when you're done with that, you have everything selected like that. Okay, the format has changed to .mov. Okay, then you can hit render, and then you have your video start rendering. When this blue line is done, you will hear a sound that indicates render is done. So let's just render and see what size it gives us. And I'll show you the second way to render. So while this is rendering, you could check the folder here, and then you see your file that has been rendered out. Okay. It's already 181 MB. So let's see the final output. Then I'll show you the second way to render with media encoder. That's the best way you should render. So if you don't have the media encoder installed, try to install. So pay attention to the sound it would make when it's done. Very bright sound to just make that. Okay, so you heard that sound, that means your render is done. So in case you're somewhere, maybe just chilling or playing game, and you hear the sound, you know your render is done. But it's been a very, like, it's been ages since I heard that sound, because I don't really render using After Effects since about 7 years or 8 years ago, since they removed the H.264 format. Okay, so what's the size of our video? 445 MB for just 25 seconds video. Wonderful. In .mov format. Okay, let's play the video and see. It's going to be very heavy. Might not even play.
The Lekki Peninsula Project is a project.
That's it. So open with, let's try opening with VLC player.
The Lekki Peninsula Project is a project that spans about 30 hectares of land. On the left side, we would have the bar, the tennis court, and the recreational centers, while on the right, we would have the residential buildings. We will have the Lekki Peninsula Project.
So that's what we have, 445 MB. Now, the better way to render, so I'll just select this duplicate, Control D, and I duplicate, I would have it duplicate, and then have it selected to be rendered. So what I'll do is hit Add to Render Q, that's Q in Adobe Media Encoder. Automatically, you have Media Encoder open. You will see the difference in how much control I have, how much options I have for this render. So this is the project. Click on this middle. So you can click on this first session, MP3, to change the format. You can click here to gain access to more options. You can click here to select where you want it to be saved. But I prefer clicking here because this middle has everything you need. So I'll click here. The output, where you want it to save, the format. When you click this middle option, you have access to all that. So the dynamic link is trying to connect to After Effects. Okay, so this is what we have. Okay, now we wouldn't see any video here because it's in MP3 format. So first, you want to change the MP3 format to H.264. You can see we have more options here than in After Effects. We have MPEG-4, we also have that QuickTime we saw there. We have the tagger. You choose your H.264. Your H.264 is your basic MP4. Okay, when you change to H.264, now if you don't have H.264 as an option, there are ways to actually install a kind of a driver on your laptop that gives you access to H.264. The places where you could download that. Maybe if you need assistance with that, just make it known. That's if you don't have H.264 format. It should be there by default, but if it's not there, all these are different formats and they are plugins. Yeah, plugins, drivers, So now we can see the video. Could drag along here to see everything. Okay. We can cut down the video from here. We can cut down the video where we want to see, where we don't want to see. Okay. This is to show everything. So, H.264 selected, high bit rates. Okay, just leave it at that. Output name, you can select output name. let's change the name. If you see .mp4 here, video file .mp4. Okay, so let's call this from encoder. From encoder, landscape projects underscore from encoder. We saved it in our render folder. Okay. You can choose whatever folder you want to save that in. Now we have different options here: effects, video, audio, blah, blah, blah. You don't need all that. Just stay on your video format. Now, pay attention to the area where you see summary, output. You want to check the size, 1920 by 1080, 29.97 frames per second. The source from After Effects carries 1920 by 1080 and also 29.97 frames per second. Now you can change the output, and then you have this output format being different from what is in the source. Okay, but most times you would definitely want what is in your source to be exactly what should come out as your output. So the condition we have here is perfect at the moment, right? So just pay attention to that. If you create your video in 1920 by 1080 format, which is Full HD, and then you come to output and you're seeing 720p, that is 720 by 1080 by 720 or so. Just know that something is wrong. You just have to then come to match source. Okay, you see match source, meaning you want your output to match the source. All right. So let me choose this Facebook 720p, for example. Can you see the output is showing 1280 times 720, whereas the source is 1920 by 1080. So let's go back to what we're working with, 1920 by 1080. Now you don't need to start going through all this. Just on the video, you want your render to be at maximum depth. You know, it makes your video sharper. And then secondly, you use maximum render quality. Okay. Now, before we get there, there's what we call target bit rates, megabytes per second. Okay, megabytes per second. This determines the size of your video. If it's going to be 30 MB, you can see estimated file size 30 MB, right? So the higher this goes, the higher the megabytes. So why is it like that? This determines the sharpness of your video, the quality of your video. Okay, so 10 is very moderate for simple videos like this. 30 MB. If you want it to be maybe sharper, you could take it to 12, and then this would increase to 36 MB from 30 MB. The higher it goes, the higher the number, 87 MB. Okay. All right. 10 is very moderate. It shouldn't go below 10. I mean, sometimes I find maybe if the video is very heavy, I could just do 8. I could just do 8. 8 is still a good quality, but I don't really go below 8. 10 is very okay. All right, so leave it at 10. Use maximum render quality. Switch that on. So 2 things. Render at maximum depth. You can see that I place my mouse at the side here and I'm scrolling. If you place your mouse here and you're scrolling down, you get to a point where you might just scroll on a particular figure, right? And then to change some settings. So make sure you keep your mouse on the left area of this particular panel, just somewhere around here, so that you can scroll, or on the right here, not within this area. For example, now watch when I'm scrolling here and I get to this place. Can you see how it changes from hardware to software? So you wouldn't, I've made that mistake in the past. Can you see? So be aware of that. I can start scrolling down, my mouse gets here, and then you start seeing it starts to change from 1 pass to 2 pass and all that. So be very careful of that. keep your mouse on the side when scrolling. And then when you're done, that's basically it, right? You hit OK. And then everything changes. The format is H.264 custom. And then hit start queue. And hit the play. And starts to render. Now this one doesn't make any sound, just renders. Yes. Okay. Someone is asking a question. Can you also give us a link to install Adobe Video Encoder? Definitely. So Tayo would give you information, further information about that. I would most probably play the role of fetching the torrents where, where it could be downloaded from easily. And I'll share that with Tayo. So the render is done. See that done, marked in green. So we'll go to our folder. And then we have our video here. You see this 29 MB compared to 445 MB. So you don't want to use After Effects in rendering. Okay. I'm going to delete this. I don't need this in my life. You can easily double click and play this video.
The Lekki Peninsula project is a project that spans about 30 hectares of land. On the left side, we would have the bar, the tennis court, and the recreational centers, while on the right, we would have the residential buildings. We will have.
So you see that and that is what we have. So Tayo, over to you. Is there anything you want to say? Or anybody has any question at this moment?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I want to ask question pertaining to why you are doing after the whole design has been done. If you want to add any audio to it, maybe you have one particular music you have it online or on your system, and you want to add it to the design. How would you do that? Is it possible to add any external audio files to it?
I'm guessing you came in late. So we treated that already. So what you see here is an audio file, and this is the waveform for the file. This is a voice I recorded with my own voice. You can also import music the same way, right? Now, this particular video I made use of comes with the music on the background when I downloaded. So I turned off the music, but if I turn the music back on,
We would have the bar, the tennis court.
so that's that music. I don't like it.
Side, we would have the bar.
It's kind of louder than my voice, so I can select this. It has audio, can drop the volume down to 11 or 12. So
We would have the bar, the tennis court.
Then for my voice, I could raise the volume higher.
And the recreational centers. The Lekki Peninsula Project.
So you can import music like where I imported my voice and drag and drop, edit the the volumes. I already explained that during the course of this video or during the course of this training. I already explained that. So if you revisit the recorded video, you'll be able to do that. It's quite straightforward, easy. How that's okay, Mr. Ayode? Daily, yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Sorry?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I'm talking about the media encoder. Does it come with the, or you have to download it?
Media encoder. Yes. So it depends on how you got your Adobe suite. Now, there are standalone apps and there are packaged apps together in the Adobe installer. So there is a particular Adobe installer you download, and then it has all the softwares. That one is always large in size, 18 gigabytes, 20 gigabytes, right? Of file of the folder is very large. But if you're downloading your standalone software, like you just want only After Effects or only Adobe Illustrator, it could be about 1 gig, 2 gig, depends on the kind of on the type of the software, right? So the Adobe suite, if you want the Adobe suite and you want to download the 20 gigabyte file, when you download that, when you want to install, you will see the list of all the softwares. You can turn off the ones you want. Dreamweaver is there for people who build websites. InDesign is there. XD Design for those who do UI UX. Adobe Muse, Character Animator for people who do 2D character animation like cartoons. All the software, Adobe softwares are there. Illustrator, Encoder, what's this other one? Audition, they are all there. The ones you want, you select, you leave them selected. The ones you don't want, you unselect them, then you hit install, right? That's if you're getting the full Adobe Suite package. But I think what was shared was the singular apps, which is the single After Effects and the single Adobe Illustrator. So we'll most probably have to look for a single standalone app for Adobe Encoder, so you can download that as well. But if you want the full Adobe Suite package, then you should have enough data to download 18 gigabytes worth of file. 18 gigabytes worth of file. So that's it, 18 gig. How much is that for if you want to buy your data, and except you have maybe unlimited data and you want to download overnight or something, So that conversation would, Tayo, is anything you can say about that? Is Tayo here?
Not at this time. As much as possible, right? Because I'm aware that this is it's you know I feel that we're already out on a limb quite a bit, even with the software that we have provided. Ideally, what we should have are trial versions, from the OEMs. So I cannot speak to Adobe Video Encoder at this time. Honestly, I would recommend that we try to work within the software that we already have, and 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 you know as our network grows, perhaps we would have other means of getting the software. You know, perhaps our offices will be able to provide these tools for us. You know, I hope this gives some
Okay,
clarity.
sir, you see the other one, the one we are using now, trial version.
Well, they they are not trial versions. They in a you could, I would refer to them as well, they're kind of trial versions, but they are not they
Let me
are
help
not
out with that.
exactly over
So
the
they are
table.
actually
The,
we call them student versions, right? For people who are just doing, low-key projects, or who are learning After Effects. This is the kind of software you use if you're a student in any maybe institution. They'll give you the student version, but you can't use that for like when you want to make a proper project that would go out there. You would need the license, right? So that's basically how it is.
Okay, okay. What I'm saying is that now, if after this particular AE that we are using, so if you want to make it to produce a project, it's not possible.
Yeah, you can make a project with this one. You can make a project with this, but um at your own risk anyway. The owners of the software might see your work and be like, what software did you use? Do you have a license for using it? Blah, 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 you know. So it's always at your own risk.
So it's unlimited, as in you can use as many years as you like.
Yeah, depends on you.
Hello.
Yes, yes, yes. I answered you. It depends on you. It depends on the user. So Tayo, please go ahead. Any other questions?
Yeah, good evening. Please, I have a question.
Okay, kindly go ahead.
Yeah. So I don't know if I will be taking us back regarding this question, because I believe you would have spoken about it sometimes, maybe when I'm in some period of the lesson. So there's this thing we do while creating new composition on the frame. You always select 29.97 frame per second. So why I dropped down the frames option, I saw 30 frames per second. So I want to be sure why choosing 29.97 while we have 30.
Okay. Very interesting question. The whole idea, I think, is because of, the way frame counts within After Effects, like how will I put it? Uh, 29.9. So I think those few extra frames
Okay.
just makes it makes it I mean, to explain this thing might be a bit difficult. I think I've come across some information that talked about it before.
Okay.
It has to do with so each frames, right? Each frames have a space in between them, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that you don't have so that you don't have what do you call it? A form of glitch or what have you. So instead of After Effects, for example, there is this thing we call frame blending, right?
Okay.
The frame blending, use that for videos. So let's say, let me show you something. This video. Okay, so this video, for example, came in as 23.97 frames per second.
Okay.
That's the voice, right?
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
No, the video, sorry, this video. This other video came in as a second video, I think this one came in as 29.97 frames per second. This one came in as 23.97
Yeah.
frames per second. So,
Yeah.
so it's just a way to cancel out any form of skip or glitch.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yes, it's just a way of canceling that. So instead of using 24 frames per second, which is animation standard,
Okay.
it's not advisable to use that for videos. So 30
Okay.
frames per second is like an overshoot. So you just use 29 just to 20, it's actually 29 frames, but the final frame, which should make it 30, they take away 0.3,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's almost one frame, but the 0.3 is to prevent a kind of
Glitches.
skip. So it just merges the 30th frame with the first frame. Next frame. I don't know if you understand what I'm explaining.
I am getting it. I'm
There's a,
getting it. It's kind
yeah,
of
there's a
reasonable.
it's kind of, I don't know how to explain it better than what I'm doing, but there is a video on YouTube that explains it better.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, yes, there's a video on YouTube that explains it better, but it's not, it's not even anything to bother about, right?
All right. All right.
It's nothing serious.
Okay.
Yes.
So
So that's why
I
we
just
don't really
wanted.
bother ourselves about it. All right.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
All right. Any other questions? All right. So, Tayo, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Right. Right. So at this point, we are at the end of the training program. I am sure that we have all gained a lot from the various classes and the assignments that we have done. And I hope that we will take the time to practice more and more so that the things that we've learned here will become really deeply ingrained into our consciousness. That's really the only way. It's a very it's a very useful communication skill, and the opportunities it opens up. I mean, the very reason why we're here was to acquire that skill, and I trust that we have acquired the skills. Just wrapping up, for those of us who would like to get certification, please reach out as discussed. And as well, the assignments that we have been given, please, you will need to ensure that you submit those assignments before we can issue those certifications. Basically, those are the criteria. And then, of course, the fees for the certificates themselves. So, well, please reach out if that is something you would be interested in. And if you have any questions about the program, what you would say if regarding follow-up programs or requests, please feel free to let us know, and we'll be happy to engage and to discuss further what's possible. So thank you very much.
Mr. Tayo, sir.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Tayo.
Yes, I'm
Sir,
with you.
I have I have a request to make. Yeah.
Okay.
So if I'm correct, the completion of the assignment will be a requirement for the certificate.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, but I want to plead on behalf of those that might be so busy to submit the assignment before weekend. Can we have an extra 1 week
Yes, of
for
course.
submission?
Of course,
Okay.
that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
no problem.
Yeah. All right.
Again, can we have the assignment? Can it be sent to our email?
Yes, I will send the assignments to your emails just as a reminder, and so that it's clear what is required of us.
Okay. Good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Hi, hello.
I think it's been a very eventful and rewarding 4 weeks. I want to appreciate everyone on the call. I want to appreciate our facilitators, and I also want to just make a request for some kind of mentorship. If the facilitators will be open to that idea of keeping the group open and keeping the channel of communication open for mentorship, so that participants at this training can leverage on the network we've been able to build in, like you mentioned earlier, on reaching out for questions, clarifications, if you get stuck somewhere along the way, so that you don't charge us a ham and a leg for reaching out to you subsequently, if that's something you're open to.
Well, that's something. Yeah, to be honest, we'll have to look into the logistics of the post-program support. That's something that we will need to, but we will look into this. So it's not a no, but we will need to look into what it would take to provide post-program support in a manner that is effective and at the same time fair to our facilitators. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay. Right. Any further questions? Okay. All right. Since we don't have any other questions, we still have the participants group, and in there we can throw in our questions as well and our concerns, and I will do my best to attend to those questions. I think we still have the participant group at this time. We're going to keep that group open for some time, we're going to keep that group open for at least a month after the program is completed, so that questions that come up, I think that is one way by which we can address your request. That is, for people who have questions within the group, they can put them up there. We can weigh in and answer those questions based on our availability, but at the same time, if there are participants within the groups who have answers to those questions, please feel free, because it's a learning journey, right? And we are all in this process of acquiring knowledge. So please feel free to chime in and give clarity. It's in the end, it is by having a community of learners that we maximize the value of what we have learned here. So we we're not trying to, shut doors at this point. We just want to continue. We want to provide as much support as we can. So do ask your questions. We'll figure out what anything beyond the 1 month period will look like, but let's use the platform as we have it. Okay, I hope that answers your question, Engineer Lindy.
It's excellent. It's excellent.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem. My only question is that concerning what Mr. Olumide just said now. Only question is that concerning what Mr. Olumide just said now is that if the mentorship can extend to some probably a month and some of what I've not catched up with what you have. You can easily ask questions at your own convenience time.
Yeah, we will have to look into the logistics of this. Okay. Much as I would love to say yes, let's do it. I understand that we pulled people out of their schedules. And so we in placing further demand on their time, we need to plan it out. Okay. We need to plan it out, and we need to think about resourcing on those sorts of things as well. So yeah, we will look into it in order to come up with a more defined plan. But at this time, let's use the group. Let's push questions that exist up on the group, and we will do our best to answer those questions as they come.
Okay, I think I have a business related question. So if we go out there, we have a certificate at the end of the day, and then we get gigs. Can we bring it back to the house for collaborations?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, I think I like to think so. I think I think everybody, well, it's an assumption, right? I think if there is opportunity, it is a conversation that can be held. So we're not averse to such conversations, you know. So yeah. Of course, this will be done on a case-by-case basis. But why not? Right? Hey. Right. Yes. Well, I just want to take a moment to say thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being part of the class, for showing up every time and cranking through the assignments. I know that for quite a few of us, it's the last 4 weeks have been an introduction to a completely new world that we had not previously encountered. But despite that, we attacked it with both hands, and here we are. So I want to commend the effort of everyone, and I want to wish everyone all the best in maximizing these new skills that we have acquired. And yeah, and that will be all for me. I would like to say thank you and have a lovely rest of the evening. Okay, and that will be all
Yeah,
for me.
thank you
All
very
right. Thank
much.
you very much. Good night.
Good night, sirs.
Yeah, good night.